Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to talk to you all about the Finals beta that's been out this month. Now for those of you that don't know what the game is, the Finals is a squad-based first-person shooter from Embark Studios. The objective of the game is to get to vaults to extract coins, which you'll then need to put in deposit sites to get points. The team with the highest points at the end is the winner. You will be competing with up to 3 other squads for dominance, and killing teams is temporary. It's not a one-life style of game. There are respawn coins which you can use for your team, so you can stay in the match for a little bit longer. But that temporary delay in getting a team back to an objective can be crucial. It means you've got the opportunity to go in, wipe a team, and take over their deposit, which gives you the points instead of them, so they do all the hard work, and you profit. It's set in a game show style environment with highly destructible maps, a variety of weather, times of day, and random events like meteor showers. There is a style of class system, they're known as specialists or specialities I think in this. They each have different stats and abilities, and the makeup of those abilities is crucial for your success. The beta has been out for a couple of weeks and I spent a few days playing the game, collecting footage and collecting my first impressions of the game. So I'm going to talk about what I liked, what I think could be improved, with some suggestions as to improvement. It goes without saying, of course, these are my own opinions, so you may agree or disagree, but discussion is always interesting with these sort of things. The first thing that I liked was destruction. That was my main draw into the game. The idea of former battlefields coming together to develop this game made it really exciting. For me, I've always thought that destruction adds an interesting perspective into any game. A game I haven't featured yet but we'll talk about on the channel is Teardown. It's my relaxed game, the whole point of it is to destroy stuff and it's incredibly satisfying. And of course, as a long-term Battlefield player, I've always appreciated the interesting gameplay that comes out of first or third person shooters that have elements of destruction in them, creating new routes, denying access, or blowing up walls to annoy teams. The Finals beta certainly showcases the capability of the game in terms of this element. And this game is in Unreal Engine 4 rather than Frostbite, so it shows that destruction doesn't have to be restricted to the Frostbite engine, and you can make some really cool destruction in Unreal Engine. Whilst Battlefield has lacked the levels of destruction that it had seen in the past in its more recent titles, the Final does a great job of utilising the engine to create these unique and engaging, spontaneous gameplay moments, opportunities, and of course complete dominance. If you drop a house on someone, they're not moving. With my multiplayer games, a level of unpredictability is something I look for as it keeps gameplay fresh and the day-to-day user experience is exciting, interesting, and you get those moments that aren't just Battlefield moments, but explosive moments, cool moments that you can get in this game as well. The second element I really enjoyed was loadout utility and choice. Overall, even for a beta, the Finals boasted a wide variety in player choice when it came to utility and loadout. There is a wide range of gadgets available that can help you refine your loadouts, and there's also a class-based system of light, medium and heavy builds which also influence the gadgets that you have. To give you an example, on the screen now are all the gadgets that you can choose from. Of course, some of these are class specific, but just to give you an example of the amount of choice that you have in the game. This level of customization does a similar job in my opinion to the destruction. It keeps gameplay fun and interesting. It also means you must really think about what your playstyle is and what strategy you wish to use in each game. It gives you the freedom to play the game your way, but because there is a class system, that extends to your wider team as well. As you will know if you're a Battlefield player, player choice is great, but it excels when it's surrounded by the idea of a class-based system. Of course, Battlefield 2042 being the example where they went away from this and decided to come back. So it's a big positive for me that you get this amount of creativity, but because there are roles in there, there is purpose to what you're doing. The class-based specific gadgets include things like healing beams, mesh shields, grappling hoods, which fit in nicely when selected with specific alternative gadgets, such as running a jump pad with a grappling hook to give you maximum mobility. You could run shields and barriers to give you more of a defendable position. Now, more combinations will come to light as the game progresses and as we see more content from it, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of dominance you get with players using specific gadgets. As I said, the entirety of loadout customization is important, so on the screen I'm going to put all the weapons that you can play with. Now, bearing in mind this is a beta, so I'm presuming that we are going to have more weapons than this in the final game, or at least some coming in the future. So it's a great starting sandbox of weaponry to suit your style. To be honest, nothing I'd particularly call out here, it just kind of depends on which weapons you're using for which purpose, but all felt very strong, at least the ones that I used. Another fantastic positive of this game is its sound design. The sound design for this game is fantastic. The guns sound incredibly powerful to use in different environments. They're meaty, satisfying, and it's really cool to hear this level of audio design in a game. The team behind the game actually released a video prior to the release of the beta, which gives you a background as to them recording different weapon sounds, so you can kind of see all the details that they added to it. The music in the background is fantastic, it's cool, it's very upbeat, it kind of reminds me a little bit like Rocket League, which there are other comparisons for this game that draw me to Rocket League, which I'll get to in a second, but the music is very upbeat, it makes it feel like a game show. And the other thing that really makes this feel like a live game show is you get audience gasps, you get applause, you get laughter, you get whooping and cheering, which again is very similar to Rocket League. And that sort of dynamic crowd nature of the game really adds to the experience and adds to your immersion as a player. Next, I want to talk about some of the things that I would like to see improved. Team cohesion for me is the big one. Now, there's a couple of things that I mean by this. The first element of team cohesion that I'm talking about is the way that the current specialization system works. As I said, you choose between 3, light, medium, and heavy build. Now these have different healths, they have different abilities, and different moving speed, which for me poses a little bit of an issue, especially if, like me, you're playing with randoms. I played mostly as the heavy character and noticed it was incredibly difficult to be together, as the speeds and changes in health caused some issues, such as just catching up with some of the light players, because sometimes they'd be sliding around, moving around, running really quickly, and it'd be difficult for you to catch up to them. Because they've got low health, by the time you caught up to them, you couldn't help them in any firefights because they'd already died. So for me, this proved to be very challenging. On more than one occasion, I found myself alone, or as I said, my teammates would die before I could get there, so I found that difficult. I would much prefer that everyone had the same speed and same health. I doubt that's going to change, to be honest, because I'm sure this game has probably been designed around the idea of those specializations, but it was something that I didn't like, and something that I kind of struggled with, as I say. I find that in these squad versus squad environments, I prefer a difference in abilities, by all means, have the classes, but have health and speed be the same so that everyone sticks together. I would suggest this maybe as a game mode. As I say, I doubt the developers didn't design the game to have those different speed and health parameters, so maybe a game mode where everyone has to play as a medium or something would be interesting to see. The other element about team cohesion is that I found a lot of people were quitting, or sometimes I was matchmaking with one other person and I'd end up on one occasion in a team by myself. Before anyone says that yes, it is a beta, and yes, hopefully the matchmaking system will be much improved over time, my suggestion for this would be perhaps there should be a punishment for quitting, a time punishment until next matchmaking can start. That's worked quite well for the likes of the Halo Master Chief Collection, and I think this may discourage players from quitting mid-match as well. I do hope the matchmaking system does improve in the future, but I would certainly like to see more punishments on the table. Even in the tournament round, which is basically where the winners of each round move up, there were occasions of teams being teams of 2. So I want to see an improvement in matchmaking from this game. Now, the game mode itself is one of the things I didn't really like, which seems kind of ridiculous because that's the whole idea of the game. But I think there could be some more refinement here. Whilst I liked a lot of the gameplay that came from it, one thing I did notice is that a lot of teams were simply camping deposit boxes from the beginning of the game. So waiting until teams put their deposit in, killed the team, took over the deposit. And a lot of these teams would win with that strategy. Now I understand it is a perfectly viable strategy, absolutely. It just kind of sucks that it happened so often. The way that I would suggest that we could change that or improve that for the game is that maybe don't reveal the deposit box until one of the vaults has been completely opened and taken by a team, or maybe lower the number of vaults to 1. So you've got 1 vault but 2 deposit boxes. So I think that would maybe help concentrate some of the fighting as well. What I did find is that the games that I won, they were quite unsatisfying, because we won because we didn't run into anyone and we simply took a box to a box. Did that twice and then won. I think there might be some gameplay of that in the video. I can't remember if I kept that in, but it's just kind of unsatisfying. So I'd like to see maybe a little bit more intensity at the beginning and an avoidance of camping. I want to go back to my point about communication as well. I think that mics were off by default. I'd like them to be on by default. I think there's more likely that you'll have some form of communication. It was very frustrating not having teammates communicate, which will happen in any multiplayer game, I suppose. And maybe it'll be good to see, maybe you're looking for a group, come to the actual game that you can maybe search. Specifically that you're on your own and you're looking for other people that are on their own. I think Apex Legends does that. I could be wrong about that. So you've got more of a chance of being suffered from as well. When there are a lot of explosions going on and your gun is firing, there's lots of smoke, lots of muzzle flash, and I found it really difficult to see at times. The highlighted enemies thing was kind of interesting as well, because sometimes they were really highlighted and sometimes they weren't at all. I think I'd like to see some more consistency with that. Maybe have a lesser red glow around enemies at all times instead of having an intense one and one that just isn't there. I think that would maybe help visibility, or just take it out entirely and kind of see how that plays out. So I'd like to see a little bit of an improvement in there. My overall impression of the beta and the game so far is probably a 6 or a 7 maybe. For me, I liked the gameplay, the gunplay was fun, but I wasn't entirely sold on the game modes, and the team cohesion issues were a big factor for me that got really annoying, especially as teammates quit on you and things like that. If it comes down to will I get this game or not based on this beta, I don't know. I really don't. The good news is the game is free, so we can all find out if we like it or not before we commit to it. But it was really cool seeing the beta, and I think in general the performance and things were good. I didn't have any issues with frame drops or overheating CPUs or anything like that. There was no performance issues for me, which was really cool. So it's a wait and seer, which might not be a good satisfying conclusion to this sort of review I'm giving of the beta, but it is my honest thought. I'd be curious to see where this game goes. I think it's one to watch. I'm still not entirely sold on it, but I certainly will pick it up when it comes out eventually. And that's about it for me. Thank you guys so much for listening to me rant and ramble for 12 minutes. But I wanted to get my opinions about the beta out there so that you guys could hear them. And I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are if you got to try the beta. Let me know in the comments below. It'd be nice to have a little chat about it. I don't think my views are the same as a lot of people's views that I've seen so far. So like I say, we'll wait and see. We'll keep an eye on this game and see how it is when it releases. Hopefully there'll be some improvements to some of the issues that I had as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. And I'll see you guys in the next video.